Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Screen is visible to you all?
No.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Okay. Wait. Just a minute. Is it now visible? My screen is visible to you all?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Not yet.
Not yet, sir.
My
It's
screen is
visible now.
Sir, is visible now.
visible. My screen is visible. Can you see my
Yes,
computer
sir.
screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Fine. Now, please turn off your video so that we can better utilize the bandwidth and start recording. Okay. So let's start. So today we'll be discussing about one new topic, that is recovery system. Okay. So far what we have seen is that transaction processing we have seen and concurrency control we have seen. And there we have seen that in case of the transaction processing or concurrency control mechanism, there are always a chance of failure. Okay. Transactions may fail sometime. And what mechanisms need to be adopted in case of failure to make the database in previous consistent state? That is actually the concern of recovery system. So these following topics will be covered in this unit, recovery system. Under recovery system, we will discuss these following topics: failure of classifications, storage structure, recovery and atomicity, log-based recovery, shadow paging, recovery with concurrent transactions, buffer management, etc. will be discussed. Okay. So we'll start the recovery system by giving an idea about different types of failure. Okay. So the transaction may fail due to several reasons. So they are summarized or categorized or classified in different terms. First is that transaction failure can be of logic, can be due to the logical errors. That is, transaction cannot complete due to some internal error condition. Transaction may also fail due to system error, like the database must terminate an active collection due to an error condition. That is maybe in deadlock state. Now, system crash. If power failure or other hardware or software failure causes the system to crash sometime. Failed assumption is that non-volatile storage contents are assumed not be corrupted by system crash. Database systems have numerous integrity checks to prevention of disk data. Now, disk failures also can be there. A head crash or similar disk failure destroys all or part of the disk storage. Destruction is assumed to be detectable. Disk devices uses checksums to detect the failure. So these are broadly the types of different types of failures which often may occur in the system. Now, we'll study different kinds of recovery algorithms in this unit, and so their properties are as follows. All the recovery algorithm techniques to ensure database consistency and transaction atomicity and durability despite failures. So the main objective of the recovery algorithm is that even there is failure, the recovery algorithm should be such that it maintains the database consistency and transaction atomicity as well as the durability despite of the failures occurs. So that is mainly this the focus of this unit. Now recovery algorithms have two parts basically. Essentially, there are two parts. One is what mechanisms, what data needs to be gathered when a system is in normal execution, assuming that system can be recovered in case of failure. That in other words, it means that what information is required in normal execution, such that in case of the failure, with that information, the database can be recovered. Okay, so that is the first recovery criteria. And second is that actions taken after a failure to recover the database contents to a state that ensures atomicity and durability. So there are two actually the types. One is during the normal execution, when system has not gone to the failure, in the state data the system will gather or accumulate the necessary information such that in case of the failure, by using those information, the database can be recovered. And second is that the actions, which actions need to be taken after a failure to recover the system database contents to a state that ensures atomicity, consistency, and durability. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that means
Yes, sir.
before failure, what mechanisms or what information need to be gathered such that in case of failure, with that information we can recover the system. And another mechanism is to what actions need to be taken in case of the failure to make the database into the previous consistent state to ensure the atomicity, consistency, and the durability of the database. Okay. These are two important properties needs to be satisfied by using recovery algorithms. Okay. Now, different storage structures which we often use are as follows. So volatile storage. Volatile storage, for example, does not survive system crashes, like for example, main memory, cache memory, etc. Whenever the power goes out, or in case of failure, those data will be lost. So those are called the volatile storage. Non-volatile storage are the storage which survive system crashes. Okay, like for example, disk, tape drive, flash memory, non-volatile battery backup, etc., and RAM. So these are actually the non-volatile storage where even after the system crashes, it survives. Now stable storage are the storage which is a mythical form of a storage that survives all kinds of failure, approximated by maintaining multiple copies of the distinct non-volatile media. So these are all that storage structure, different types of storage structure. Okay, is it clear to you all? Storage implementation. Now this stable storage implementation part I will be skipping for the moment. I will come back later on. Now let me talk about the recovery and atomicity. Modifying the database without ensuring the transaction will commit may leave the database in an inconsistent state. Means modifying the database without ensuring the transaction will commit will leave the database into an inconsistent state. Consider that transaction TI that transfers $50 from account A to account B. Goal is either to perform all database modifications made by transaction TI or none of them. have been made successfully. This we have already studied in case of the transaction processing, in case of ACID property, that that atomicity property and consistency, that says that either all the database modifications will be done completely and successfully, or none of them will be. Several output operations may be required for TI, transaction TI, to output A and B. A failure may occur after one of these modifications have been made, but before all of them are made. So now, with this recovery and atomicity, to ensure the atomicity despite failure, we first output the information, describe the modifications to a stable storage without modifying the database itself. So what modifications is being done to the database will be actually the reflected to a stable storage without modifying the database first. Okay. So in this respect, two strategies are developed or proposed. One is log-based recovery mechanisms, which is very popular mechanisms for recovery. That is shadow paging. Okay. We assume initially that the transactions run serially, that is one after another. So now we will study the log-based recovery mechanisms for to ensure atomicity, etc. Now, log-based recovery mechanism. What is log-based recovery? Okay. Log-based recovery mechanism uses log file. A log is kept on a stable storage for recording database modifications. The log is a sequence of log records and maintains a record of update activities on the database. So it is a chronological order of the updation operations made by the on the database. When a transaction TI starts, it registers itself by writing a TI command on the log record. So every log record starts with TI start. Transaction has started. Okay. Before TI executes the write X operation, a log record TI X V1 V2, these fields are used, is written on the log record, where V1 represents, where V1 is the value of the data item X before the write operation, and V2 is the value of the data item to be written on the data X. I repeat. So transaction X, transaction I, TI. This TI represents the transaction TI, which is performing a write operation over the data item X, and V1 is the value of the data item X before TI has performed the write operation, and V2 is the value which TI wants to write over the data item X. Is it clear? So these fields are there, TI, X, V1, V2. And let me tell you, here in this log-based recovery mechanism, there are two policies basically. One is deferred database modification policy, and another is immediate database modification policy, which I will be discussing next. Okay. Now, when TI finishes its last statement, that means when the TI, transaction TI is over, it performs a TI commit operation and is written in the log record by this way, TI commit. So every log record will be starting with TI start and followed by transactions which wants to perform the write operation, their values, the old value V1 and the new value V2 of the data item X, which wants to be written by the transaction TI. And as I mentioned, there are two database modification policies using log-based protocol, log-based recovery mechanism. One is deferred database modification policy, and another is immediate database modification policy. Deferred database modification policy says that deferred database modification policy in deferred database log-based recovery mechanism. If a transaction does not modify the database until it has committed, so as long as the database commit operation is not done, the database will not be modified. Transaction does not modify the database until it has committed. It is said to use the deferred database modification. So this sort of policy where the log is called the deferred database modification policy. Now, in case of the immediate database modification policy, if the database modifications occur while a transaction is still alive, the transaction is said to use the immediate database modification technique. That means before the commit operation even, the database can be modified in this scheme, immediate database modification policy. So I'll be talking in details in the next slide about these two policies. Now coming to the deferred database modification policy, SIM, as I mentioned, that records all the modifications to the log but defers all writes to after partial commit operation. Means it modifies the log record, but it defers all the write operations after the partial commit operation. Okay, means as long as the commit operation, partial commit operation is not done, the database is not modified in this scheme. Assume that transaction executes serially. Transaction start by writing a command ti start record to the log, and a write x operation results in a log record ti xd using being written where v is the new value of x. Here you note that unlike the previous one, database two values are not used here. Only the new values are recorded in case of the deferred database modification policy. So the old value is not recorded in log record. Why? Because the database is not being updated or modified as long as commit operation is not being done. So therefore, the write is not performed on the data item X at this time, but is deferred. So when TI partially commits, that means when TI commits operation is done, is written to the log record. Finally, the logs are read and used to actually execute the previously deferred write operations. Now, you may ask me, or why the old value of the data item is not being recorded into the log record? Because that is not required. Since what write operations is being done by the transaction TI on the data item X is recorded as V. This is the new value of the data item X, which is being recorded in that temporarily in the temporary variable. And once the commit operation is being done, then only that value will be permanently reflected to the database. Therefore, the old value is not required in this case. So in case of, so let's consider this example, and I hope this will be more clear. During recovery, let's say in case of failure, we need to recover the system. So during recovery, after a crash, a transaction needs to be redone if and only both TI start and TI commits are there in the log. So if TI start and TI commits are there in the log record, both entries are present in the log record. That means the transaction has already performed the write operation over the data item, and that needs to be redone. Here, no undo operation is required. Redoing a transaction TI redo TI sets the value of all the data items updated by the transaction to the new values. Okay. But no undo operation is required since database will not be database as long as the commit operation is being not done, that value, that modified value is not reflected to the database. Therefore, even there is a failure, the undo operation is not required, because whatever value is there in the database record is already consistent. Okay. If the TI start and TI commit both are present in the log record, that means whatever transaction TI, whatever modification is being done, that is partially complete. That's why TI commit is also present. Therefore, that operation needs to be redone to reflect it into the database. Okay. So crashes can occur while the transaction is executing the original updates or recovery action is being taken. Example transaction is that T0, T1. T0 and T1 executes, T0 executes before T1. Now consider this. Let's say T0 performs the read operation over the data item A, followed by some arithmetic operations, A equal to A minus 50, then followed by write operations of the data item A, followed by read operations of the B, then B equal to B, again some arithmetic operations, then write operation over B, then T1 performs the read operation over C, then performs the some arithmetic operation, then performs the write C operations. Now consider these examples. These are the different schedules. These are different schedules. This is one schedule. This is another schedule. And this is another schedule. Okay. Means log record of different schedules are shown. Okay. Different log records of different schedules are shown here. Here, in the first schedule log record, you can see that transaction T0 has performed the start operation. T0 start is there in the log record. Okay. T0A 950 is there. Then followed by T0B 2050. This and no T0 commit operation is there, right? No T0 commit operation is there. What does it mean in this schedule A? Log record of schedule A. It indicates that transaction T0 has started, and we can see that, we can observe that from the log record, followed by transaction T0 performed some write operation over the data item A, or updated the data variable A with value 950. Then this is the new value of A. Then again T0 has updated the data item B by value 2050, but that there is no commit operation. That means whatever updates it made to the data item A and B has not been reflected yet to the database, since there is no commit operation present. So in case of the failure, now let's consider that after this point the schedule failed, the transaction failed. Then what will happen? What will happen? That whatever value it made, or whatever modifications transaction T0 had made to the database items A and B, the variables A and B, is not being reflected to the database yet. That means whatever database, whatever value is there in the database is already in the previous consistent state. So what we need to do is that, what we need to do for recovery action, as a recovery action, what mechanisms we need to adopt? Since T0 start is there, no T0 commit is there, that means that transaction has not complete yet. And since it is not complete, T0 commit is not there, that value is not being reflected to the database, and by that and at that time the transaction failed. So we can leave the database in this state because the database is already in the previous consistent state. Okay, so no redo actions need to be taken in this scheduling. Is it clear? Since T0 commit is not present here. Okay, that means it is it is following the deferred database modification policy. How we can ensure that it is following the deferred database modification policy? In case of the deferred database modification policy, in the log record, the tuples T0 A 950, that means 3 tuples are present. 4 tuples are not present. If 3 tuples are present, that means the transaction is present, the variable or the database item which needs to be modified is present, and the new value of the item is present. Old value is not present. By that way, we can infer that this schedule is in deferred database modification policy. And since TI commit is not there, T0 commit is not there, so we can. I have 10 minutes left. Okay, so we can assume that this transaction has not performed the commit operation, since that is not recorded in the log, and the database need not be redone. Okay, because T0 commit is not there. Whatever database value is there at this moment is already in the consistent state. Is it clear to you all? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now look at the second example, example B, schedule B. Here you can see that T0 in the log record, T0 start is there, T0 A 950 is there, T0 B 2050 is there, T0 commit is there, T1 start is there, T1 C 600 is there. Now, at this moment, let's say the transaction after that there is no record present in the log. Okay, that means transaction failed after that. Okay, the schedule failed. So this is the entry in the log record presently. So what recovery action needs to be taken in this case in schedule B? What recovery action needs to be taken? Here you just see that transaction T0 has started. We can see it from the log record. T0 A 950 is also present. That means from this information we can infer that this is following the deferred database modification policy, since 3 tuples are present, T0 A and 950. Followed by T0 B 2050 is also present. Then T0 commit is there. Means whatever changes the transaction T0 has made temporarily to the database is already being reflected to the database, right? Already being reflected to the database by the transaction T0. But whatever changes it made to the by the transaction T1, since T1 start is there, no T1 commit is there, so T1 whatever changes it made to the data item C has not been reflected to the database. So in case of failure, what needs to be done? What needs to be done? T1 has committed, T0 has committed its operation. Okay. After that, the failure occurred. So whatever changes it made, to persist that change, we need to redo the T0 operation to reflect that change. Okay. Because T0 start and T0 commit both are present. Therefore, we need to redo the T0 operation so that that value will be reflected to the database or will persist to the database. Now for T1, since T1 start is there, T1 commit is not there, means whatever changes or changes it made to the data item C has not been reflected to the database, so we do not need to do anything here in this case. Okay, is it clear? So now consider this example, this schedule 3. T0 start is there, then T0 A 950, T0 B 2050, T0 commit is there, T1 start is there. Means T0 has started, and after modifying some data items A and B, it has committed also. Then T1 has started, then T1 has performed some write operations or modified the data item C, then T1 also committed. So therefore, you can see that T0, both T0 and T1 has committed. T0 started there, T0 commit is also there. T0 start is all, T1 start is there, T1 commit is there. So whatever changes it made to the data item is already being reflected. So now in case of the failure, therefore we need to redo it to persist the change or to make it persistent in the database. So so the redo operation needs to be done for both T0 and T1. Is it clear? Is it clear? Please respond.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
to summarize, for database log-based data deferred modification policy, how to understand whether it is following the deferred database modification policy from the log-based record entry. If we find that 3 tuples are present, 4 tuples are not present, then we can say that this is following the deferred database modification policy. Okay, and just to summarize, what recovery actions need to be taken in case of the failure from the log-based entry. From the log-based entry, if we see that a particular transaction has started but not committed before that transaction, before the transaction has failed, means from the log record entry, if we find that T0 a transaction start is there but not commit, no commit operation is being done at that point of time, then as a recovery mechanism, we do not need to do anything. Okay, no redo operation, no undo operation, nothing to be done for the recovery action. Why? Because the database is already in the previous consistent state. Now, secondly, if we see in the log record that a particular transaction has started by the command T start, but it has not committed but it has committed also before it has gone to, it has failed. T commit is also there in the log record. Then we can infer that as a recovery action, that transaction needs to be redone to reflect that data item into the database. So to reflect that changes into the database. So that means if Ti start, Ti commit both are present in the log record entry before it fails, then as a recovery action, we need to redo the operation by that particular transaction. Okay. So to summarize, if Ti start is present, Ti commit is not there, no action needs to be taken for deferred database modification policy. If Ti start and Ti commit both are present, then we need to perform the redo operation of that particular transaction. Is it clear? In case of the deferred database modification policy. Why it is called the deferred database modification policy? Because the data items which are being modified from the log record entry, that is not reflected to the database immediately. Rather, it is deferred. When it will be reflected? Once the commit operation is being done, after that the database will be modified. Therefore, it is this log-based recovery mechanism is called the deferred database modification policy. Is it clear to you all? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
So here in this deferred database modification policy, one point to note that no undo operation needs to be done. Okay, no undo operation is involved. In the next class, we will see the immediate database modification policy, where as a recovery mechanism, we require both undo and redo operation, and also the 4 tuples that here in the deferred database modification, 3 tuples are required, T0A and 950 like that. In immediate database modification policy, 4 tuples are required. So we'll study, because I am going out of time today, only less than 2 minutes time left. So in the next class, we'll discuss about the immediate database modification policy. So just to summarize today's class, what we have discussed, we have started discussing about the recovery system, and there we have first about the different types of failure. Then we have discussed about the criteria for recovery algorithms. Any recovery algorithm, what criteria needs to be satisfied. Two criteria are there basically. Actions taken during normal execution, action needs to be taken during failure. Then we have talked about different stable storage structures. Okay, different storage structures, volatile storage, non-volatile storage, stable storage, etc. Then we have talked about the recovery and atomicity. Then we have discussed one log-based recovery mechanisms called the deferred database modification policy. Okay, thanks for listening me. Please give the attendance in Google Drive. Is it clear to you all today?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please provide the attendance.
Thank you, sir.
And I hope Richard has recorded the entire session.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. If
Yes,
required,
sir.
you share it with your friends. Okay.